This is a build video for the two-legged walking droid. I've got all the parts printed up and laid out here. Got my frame, two legs, there's a left and a right. Two of these gear shaft thingies, they're identical. A gear for the motor. Two of these, I call them wheel cranks, I believe that's what I named them. They go on the end of these here. 3 volt, 30 RPM, dual output shaft motor. 6 3mm by 12mm screws. A battery box. 2 AAA battery box. And I've already soldered wires onto this little switch, so I didn't have to do that on camera. The first thing you want to do when you build it is go in there with a file or whatever you've got. Clean these up, make sure that these fit and turn smoothly. So first of all, this does have a left and a right and an up and a down, or a front and a back. This is the front. The motor goes in like this. The motor gear will go on this side. So these gears will go in like this. So you want to get these turning freely. Clean them up with sandpaper or whatever you need to do. Make sure they're turning freely. Now we're going to put the little crank wheel on it. We're just going to test fit it for now. Notice they have holes in them. The holes will be 180 degrees apart from side to side. So when this one's down, this one will be up. The way I do it is I put the printed surface out so it kind of snaps in. You can test fit it that way. Actually works pretty well. Check it after you get it together. Make sure this hole is up, this hole is down. Now we're going to do the bottom one, same thing. That one's down. This one will be up. Snap it together. We'll come back and glue these later once we get it, make sure it's working right. You want to make sure that all this works freely before you glue this together, because when you glue this part to this part, you can't get them out again. I did that just for ease of assembly. Otherwise, I would have had to have split this body and make clamps and everything. It's just a lot more trouble to design and probably to build too. This works just fine though. So we got those working. Now we're going to take our leg like this. It goes on like this. Well, first of all, let's talk about our feet. I didn't show the feet at the start. There's a left and a right foot. On this one, down here, I've already cut out the sacrificial bridge on it. So I'm going to do that on the other one right now. There's a sacrificial bridge right down in here. It makes it print easier. All you got to do is go in there with your X-Acto knife. Cut it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just clean it up as best you can. Now, when you're, see, this is the, got to keep all this stuff straight. This will be our leg for this side. And since this is the front and the foot faces this way, this will be our foot for that side. So let's go ahead and just put that in there now. We'll glue this on too later once we make sure everything's working. We might just, yeah, we'll wait till we make sure it's working. Put this down on like that. Now we got to use our 3mm by 12mm screw. Try to keep this in frame. I'm always losing this little driver. You want that a little bit loose, but not too loose. Just needs to rotate freely. Now we'll do a bottom one. Let's just take the foot off for now, it'll be easier. It will assemble with a foot and a leg glued together though. Now we've got these together. At some point we have to put our motor in so we can test things, so this is probably as good a time as any. We'll put the motor in like that. Now the motor will slide freely now. Once we get this gear on, which we're going to do next, it will not slide freely. It won't come out with the gear on. There's a little line on this motor, but it corresponds with the flat in the hole on the gear. So line that up with the flat on the motor. Now it's probably a good time to go ahead and assemble the electronics so that we can test all this. First of all, just make you up a switch with a bunch of wire on it. The switch goes down through this hole right here. Put a little hook on the end of your wire so it'll come out like that. The switch just sits in a pocket. Now we should probably put our battery pack on. The battery pack is just double-sided taped. So cut a length of that. This is just double-sided foam tape. I'll put the battery on, centered up and all the way to the bottom. I'll try to get it centered. We'll see. Didn't do a very good job. Oh, not too bad. Now our wiring diagram, well, I didn't make a wiring diagram for this one. It's pretty simple though. Just bring one of the wires to this out. I've made a little trough here to hopefully keep the wire out of this thing. Oh, it's not, I don't think it hurt anything if it rubbed on it. That was a fun part, soldering. We're sort of trying to solder on camera anyway. I'm going to put a little piece of heat shrink on here. I'm going to determine how long this wire needs to be. About like that, I guess. Strip some of the wire back. I use the wire from old computer cables. Now I got the soldering iron. I might fast forward through this part. We'll see how smooth it goes. Good enough for now. I'll heat that up and Well, there's nothing for it to short out to, so I'm not even going to try to fix that for now. Now this wire will go to the, this is a positive wire from the battery. These motors actually have a polarity on them. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. I can barely see it, and I'm right here. It's right on the end of these. The positive will go to the negative on, so this wire, if it hooks, our switch is switched from the positive, will go to the negative on this. It's just the way that the rotation turned out. So that's the bottom one.
Oh, that was almost in focus. I don't know, it's hard to say. Need to tend my motor contact. That didn't take.
When you get older, this gets harder. Now our black wire from the battery is just going to go straight to the other motor terminal. The positive one. I know it's weird, but it's the way it is. It's just the way the rotation turned out. See if I can reroute that wire. I think I managed to get it too short after all that, which is about par for the course. I'm using my little battery powered soldering iron I built. You can find that in my YouTube channel and I think my Thingiverse and Printables. It's probably the handiest thing I've ever made. Now I have to find some batteries to put in this. Well, I found some batteries and put in it. Let's turn it on. Make sure everything's working so far. So far, so good. Now, we'll just go ahead and put the other leg on. Same procedure as before. Two 3mm by 12mm screws. Test it again. Test it at every stage. Make sure nothing's going wrong. Let's stick the feet on there. Okay, this is the front where the battery is. So this foot goes over here. By the way, these are just lightning holes to keep the weight down. I didn't want it solid plastic or infill. Because of the way this walks, probably best to take this loose to get that rubber foot on. Now when I think of it, it's best to put the last foot on after you put the leg, or put the leg on after you mount the foot to it. You can bend it around and it'll work, but you have to have these screws fairly tight. Any looseness will show up as rocking, and it might make it unstable. It's a little bit, it could be a little more stable if the weight distribution was better, because the batteries are in the front. I thought about working on that, but it seems to walk okay, so let's see if it walks. Walking pretty good. Now, we put the battery on. It does have one position that it's more unstable. I'll show that now. You can see when, because of the weight, the battery, when the down leg is back, I believe, or mostly back, but not all the way back. See, it's starting to move toward the back. It gets a little more tipsy. But it works. If you had trouble with that, you could always, here's the body. You could always put some weight, double-sided tape some weight in the back of the body, and lower down the better. This is a little different than the other Gonk Droid I made. I didn't like I had it glued together as a seam right here in the middle. I didn't like the way that worked at all. So I redesigned that part so that this bottom part slides into the top part like this. It's actually snapping together. It may or may not do that for you depending on your printer. You can glue it together with some of this stuff or super glue or whatever you decide to use. Here's the glue. I referred to it in another video. Side grip 16 fast set. It's a solvent glue. When you put the body on, a few more words about the body. There are sacrificial bridges here, 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 and here, where the switch go and where the two screw holes go. This is a bridge, and it droops down pretty good. Tried to do something about that, but I didn't make much headway on it. The file that I'll include has a kind of an oddity to it, so that you could just select only support where it touches the print bed and not everywhere. If you printed this with support, it's twice as long a print. But I just wanted support right around this rim right here. I didn't want it up in here. So what I did was I made a part of a body that just extends out with a tab and then covers all this area just inside of what you see here, and it's only 0.2 millimeters. So when you print it, it's just going to be one layer on your printer. When you take this up, it's probably not even going to stick to this. It just stayed on my print bed. But that blocked all the support because I had the support or slicer settings to support where it's touching the build plate only. It blocked all that support area. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but it's what I did. To put it on, pretty simple. The switch comes through right here. There are two screws. Same 3 millimeter by 12 millimeter screws I've been using. Try to keep this in frame. Need to change my camera setup some more. The body will come off if you just take these two screws out, even if you glue the bottom part on. The switch barely sticks up. In the design file, it sticks up a little farther, but because of that drooping bridges inside there, it's not as, it doesn't stick up as far. Some of that gets taken up by the droop. There it is, walking with its at its bottom. And its bottom goes on like this. I'll just snap it on there. I'll reset the camera and get a little better footage of it walking here. Well, here it is walking. Well, that's the build video. I'll have a separate demo video, much shorter. This video is already way too long. I'll go back and glue all the parts together. I don't want to include that because it's just taking too long. I'll glue the leg to the feet. Just there's not much to that. Just a little glue down here, and then I'll put a little glue on this two body parts, up there and the lower, although it probably really doesn't need it. Well, thanks for watching.